Hey kids, back with another week of picks. We had a pretty good week last week. Thursday was massive. The weekend we were down a tiny bit. But over the year we're still up 2.72 units, which is awesome. Thank God that teaser came through. Seattle helped us out. I didn't really have any in-game plays last week. I did. I bet Steelers minus 5.5 in-game, so I lost that. But otherwise, I didn't do a ton of that, so there wasn't any of that value that I usually like to brag about adding, but I didn't add any this week, so you didn't get any. Well, aside from Thursday when I told you to bet Houston in-game. So, like I said, we're up 2.72 units on the year, which is good because we're in the plus, but it's not ideal because we'd like to be up more than that. As always, guys, I do recommend following me on Twitter at CPT_handsome. That is at Captain Handsome, because I do tend to do pretty well betting in game. I definitely do better at that than I do with the pregame picks, as you can tell, because we're only up 2.72 units. I got a few plays this week. The first one that I really like is I like Indy -3. At Houston. It's currently minus 120, so you're going to pay some juice on that. But I just think Indy's a much better team. I think the Will Fuller suspension is really going to hurt the Texans. I still think that Deshaun Watson is an absolute stud. I think he's the best player on the field. But they also cut Kenny Stills this week, or put him on waivers and to the purpose of cutting him. So Brandon Cooks is really going to have to go off for them to do anything. And I just think that they just don't have enough. I think that Indy's going to be able to shut down their one decent receiver. And I think that they're probably going to be in some trouble. I believe David Johnson is back this week. But I don't think he's any better than average or, anybody else who has been filling in for him. So I don't think that that's much of a factor. Indy is a good team. I still think that Phillip Rivers is washed, but the game plan that they've been calling for him recently has been better. And although last week, notwithstanding, and I do think that there's going to be some anger factor on their part for getting absolutely smashed by the Titans. So I think Indy -3 is really good value. I'm playing that for 2 units. And that's probably my favorite play this week. I also am on Detroit +3. They're at Chicago. I don't think Chicago deserves to be a favorite anywhere. I think Chicago is a really bad offensive team. I think Detroit's probably going to win this game. I think that you have a bunch of factors. I don't know about Swift or Golladay. Even without Swift or Golladay, I think +3 is value. If Swift or Golladay is in, I think that line's going to move for sure. And I think that there's an obscene amount of value in that if either of those guys is playing. I think that they haven't gotten rid of Matt Patricia, who it's obvious they don't believe in. It's obvious they didn't buy into his shtick. I think that, we see that factor a lot as teams play a lot better the week after their coach gets fired, because obviously they haven't bought into him and they're tuning him out, and he's inefficient. And Matt Patricia has been nothing but inefficient. I don't think that Detroit's going to be world beaters or anything because Bevel's still there and he's awful. But once they get rid of him, the offensive firepower on that team is very strong. Matt Stafford's a great quarterback. Love DeAndre Swift as a running back. I think Kenny Golladay is a super underrated wide receiver. They seem to only use him when they need to, and all he does is catch the ball and make big plays for them and bail them out. So I love them. So I've got a 1-unit play on Detroit +3, which is currently at even money. And I also have a Detroit money line play, which is currently 140. So I have 1 unit on each of those. I also, my last play is a 7-point teaser, which includes Detroit because I'm so happy with them. I don't think there's any chance in the world that the Chicago Bears can beat Detroit by more than 10 points. I think Chicago might not score more than 10 points, although Detroit's defense isn't stellar. But I just don't believe in Chicago's offense at all. I think Nagy's probably going to be let go at the end of this year because he was thought of as a super smart guy, and it just doesn't seem to be happening for him. So I like Detroit +10. I also have Tennessee in there. They're currently -5.5, so they've moved to +1.5 with a 7-point teaser. I just think, I know their record's the same as Cleveland, but they're at home and they're a much better team than Cleveland. I think that they showed last week that in the games that that maybe they're finally turning that corner and showing us what a dominant team they are. Yeah, I wanted to play Tennessee minus 5.5. I just think with both of these teams in the running games, I think that there could be some longer, slower drives than we're used to. I know the total's high. I've considered the under on the total, but for this play, I'm going to play Tennessee plus 1.5 because I don't think there's any way they lose this game. And my last play is New England plus 8.5. They're playing the Chargers. The Chargers find ways to lose these games. There's a decent argument for New England to win this game outright, but the reason I didn't bet New England is just because the Chargers have so much more actual talent on the team. They just don't seem to put it together. So I do think New England probably wins this game. So, I mean, you want to give me 8.5 points, I'll take that all day long. So just to recap the plays, Indy -3 for 2 units, Detroit +3 for a unit, Detroit money line for a unit, and a 7-point teaser with Detroit +10, Tennessee +1.5, and New England +8.5. And that is a 2-unit play as well. Otherwise, guys, like I said, follow me on Twitter at CPT_handsome for in-game plays, and sometimes I'll add stuff on here and there. I don't count them towards these plays, but they can give you some value and make you some money. And otherwise, and don't forget to click subscribe if you get any value out of this, or if you don't get any value at all out of it and you just want to do a nice thing for me, hit that subscribe button. At this point, I'm only 97,000 people shy of monetizing this. Otherwise, guys, as I always say, make sure to play within your means. Don't be silly. Make sure you play with money that you can afford to lose. I have a separate bank account that's just gambling money. I don't touch any of our family money because it's silly and you shouldn't do that. So, guys, thanks for watching. Stay safe and have a great week.